Hello, welcome to ET Garage. I'm Eugene Tordo, and today we're going to do some diagnosis on the cruise control on a C4 Corvette. Alright, like I was saying, today's video is going to be about diagnosing the cruise control on a C4 Corvette. A couple of weeks ago, someone asked me to do a video on cruise control, and sure enough, about a week after that, I started having problems with my cruise control. Before I get into diagnosis, I'm going to go over some of the components. I have extras here, so I'll show them to you. But one of the main components, and one that you probably see the most on your C4 Corvette every time you open up the hood just above the battery, is this device, which is a servo. It's controlled by the cruise control module. And vacuum. It relies heavily on vacuum. There's two vacuum ports here. I'll go over that in a second. And of course you have your little stalk that, for your turn signal and your cruise control and all that stuff. I'll go into more of that in a little bit. And another major component is this little thing here, vacuum check valve. This not only affects your cruise control, it also affects your havoc, or your like the blend doors and your defroster and your vents on your C68 climate control system, because those are all vacuum actuated and are connected with this T from the main vacuum source from the plenum. Another thing, major component, is located by the brake pedal. Right next to the brake light switch is a vacuum actuated switch. And one of the hoses coming off of here goes through the dash to that switch. And when you step on your brake pedal, that disengages the cruise control. That's really important. That being said, most of the problems with cruise control has to do with the vacuum on the C4 Corvettes that I've seen. And it's always this check valve. Now this check valve here is a Dorman replacement one. It's called a two-way check valve. In the factory service manual, it will be called a vacuum check valve, I believe it is. It isn't called a two-way check valve, but so if you go to the parts store and you order it, that's what it is. This here I've gotten from Advance Auto, and I was looking through all the reviews of it, and everyone had a 1 star, and everyone said it didn't work. So I guess I don't know now that China's making all this stuff, that they're making it incorrectly, probably. But what they've been doing is using this one, which I guess does the same job. So that's what I will probably use today. All right, hold everything right there. Before I continue with this video, I ended up finishing the video without testing anything. I just assumed that it was the little vacuum check valve, and it turned out not to. Also, I state in this video that that black check valve that I showed you, which is what normally is under the hood from the factories, that style, had bad reviews and didn't work, and that I wouldn't use it, and that everybody was using this white one here. This did not work. It would work fine for the AC, all the ducts and everything, but it wouldn't allow air to go to the servo motor. So I ended up using that plastic one that everyone said didn't work, and that worked fine. The problem was it didn't fix the problem, and that's because it actually was a vacuum leak, but the vacuum leak turned out to be in the servo. So it was a good thing I still held on to my old good servo, and I just popped that in, and that fixed the problem. Next thing I would have done, of course, if that didn't do it, I'd have to throw that spare cruise control module in there. I don't really like doing things like that. I'm throwing parts at it. In this case, it's not a problem money-wise because I have these spare parts. And these little check valves are like $8 or something like that, $8 or $9. Figure just less than $10, so that ain't no big deal. I did end up using the black one, the one that everyone gave 1 star. That worked. As far as I can tell, my old check valve is still good, so I'm holding on to that. And the problem, like I said, the problem turned out to be a vacuum leak in this servo. So let's continue with the video. It was helpful. before I get into it, I guess different years Corvettes might be slight differences. I think some later years, like 93 to 96, I think might have an extra relay thrown in. I'm not sure. If you know, let me know. Another main component is that round ball that you see on the driver's side. Round plastic ball will be in front of the driver's side wheel well. If you ever look on your hood and you see that round plastic ball, that is just a vacuum chamber that holds extra vacuum, to allow for differences, like when you step on the brake or you actuate the blend doors, which you're going to use some of the vacuum. This way the vacuum stays at a steady pressure. To check that's easy. You hook like a vacuum pump like this, and you just pump it up, and if it holds air, it's good. Yeah, if it holds the vacuum, it's good. Another thing you want to do is check all your vacuum lines. Like I said, majority of the problems with cruise control, are, as far as I know, are vacuum actuated. Very rarely will one of these go bad that I know of. I don't know of too many instances where they've gone bad. Like for my 90, they actually have 2 different part numbers. That's why I have this one. I just wanted to try a different part number, and the reason I wanted to do that is once I went from a stock motor to a modified motor, like I went from a stock 350 to a 385 with a cam and all that, well, the cruise control wasn't as smooth. In other words, it accelerates a little bit more suddenly and deaccelerates a little more suddenly because of the power increase. So I figured I'd try the other part number and see if that made any difference, and it didn't make any difference. These vacuum actuators, this one here is actually the original one that was on the car, and I still have it, and it's still good. And the only reason I changed it is way years ago, Rock Auto was having one of their clearance sales on these servos, vacuum servos for the cruise control. I forgot how much it was. It was real cheap. I bought it. Right now, I was looking online, and the only place I could find that carried them is Advanced Auto, and then you'd have to order it. I'm sure you could find them other places if you just do a search, like eBay and stuff like that. And there's like $82, I think, or somewhere, $80 to $90, say. So, something to keep in mind. I don't know how often these go. I would think, if anything, these rubber will dry rot out on you eventually, and that's what will go bad. This part here is what the cable hooks to. That's another component that goes to the throttle linkage. And that you adjust through these holes. You just adjust it basically. If you go by the factory service manual, you just adjust it until you take up all the slack with the throttle closed, of course. And that's how you adjust it. If it's out of adjustment, it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't make that much of a big difference. It's not that critical. Now, get on to diagnosis of the cruise control. Okay, in the factory service manual, it'll have a section on diagnosis and proper cruise control operation. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it gives a list of 4 incidences. First one is cruise system surges. The servo and throttle linkage should operate freely and smoothly. Linkage should be adjustive. Check hose routing for pinches, leaks, or restrictions. Another problem could be cruise speed high or low. Check vacuum hoses for proper routing, restrictions or leaks. Adjust or replace as required. Check servo linkage for excessive slack and adjustment. If no system problem is noted, replace the electronic control module. Okay. Excessive cruise speed loss on hills. That's the problem I'm having. Check hoses for vacuum leaks. Determine if check valve is functioning where applicable. I think that refers to the like the LT5 uses a different check valve, so something to consider. Cruise tap up and tap down inoperative. If all other functions of cruise control are working except tap up and tap down, replace control module. Okay, so that breaks it down pretty simple. So it's pretty simple. It goes into if you have Here, I'll read it right from the manual. Because any problem in the system is either vacuum, mechanical, or electrical, technicians should perform a few initial checks before turning to Section A, electrical diagnosis. This can be first by eliminating vacuum and mechanical problems by starting the engine using a finger to feel for source of vacuum at the servo, visual inspection of the vacuum release valve, throttle linkage, vacuum hoses, and other components. It also goes on that there's several versions of cruise control testers that are available. I've never seen one. You might be able to find one and search it on eBay. According to this, the quick check instrument is installed in place of the control module. It determines which part of the system has a problem. Instructions on the operation instrument should be provided by the manufacturer. So if you can find one of them, good luck. I didn't even bother to search eBay for it. I don't think it's worth the trouble. Like I said, almost all C4 Corvette cruise controls problems are usually vacuum related. And every time I've seen it online, or if I've had a problem, it's usually this little bugger right here. I'm going to show you where this is at. And yeah, let me move the camera around and I'll show you those other components. Okay, let's start with the servo. Here you'll see two vacuum lines going to it. And the plug-in connector. This goes to the module. Here you got the real thicker line. That goes through the firewall to that brake switch. This one here comes up here, goes to this T, and one line will run all the way down here to that vacuum canister, that round bulb thing. And the other one runs up to, and I don't know, hopefully you guys can see it down in there. I hope so. That little three-way valve. It's usually where it's located, somewhere in this area, depending how much over time that area has been played with. One vacuum line runs underneath the plenum and underneath on a 90 Corvette where your map sensor will be. Earlier L98s won't have a map sensor, and you'll just see a couple of ports there. Then goes to the two-way valve, and which has three fittings on it. One fitting goes off into the firewall. That's for your blend doors and your vents for your AC system. And the other one goes to that line I was just pointing to this T, which has to do with your cruise control. The module on a 90 Corvette is located underneath the dash pad. I think it's somewhere in this area. Either way, this whole dash pad has to come out, and once you get it off, it's like sitting like right here somewhere. Might be over here more, I can't remember. Earlier C4 Corvettes and other year C4 Corvettes, I don't know. You'll have to look that up in your factory service manual or search online. And of course, buried under there, above your brake pedal, is that vacuum actuated switch. And you will have to take apart, of course, the lower kick and hush panel probably to get to it. That's all about there is to it. Of course, there's the stalk. I actually bought a new one, not because I needed one, but because the old one, the older letters were getting faded and stuff. But all the new ones have these white letters, where my original one has the amber letters. So I picked up a good used one that had that didn't have as many miles on it, and all the amber letters are still on it. I just like the amber letters. Getting to this, to use your cruise control, let me move this camera around again, and then I'll go over about using your cruise control. All right, I'm going to go over how to use this cruise control. I also go over how to replace this. To replace this, you basically unplug this, yank on it real hard, and it'll pull out. It's sort of like pops in and pops out, and the same thing to replace it. Slam it back in, rehook the wire up. But cruise control operation, hopefully you can see this good on here. You have an off switch, on. Once you turn it on, you would get to the speed you want to cruise at, press the button on the end, hold it for a couple of seconds. It should engage. And then, if you say you have to hit the brake, to keep from hitting the car in front of you, it will turn off. And then you want to resume your speed, you just click it once like that, and it will turn back on and you'll go back to your speed. If you want to accelerate without using your foot, you just push that lever and hold it and you will accelerate. If you just hit it once, it will accelerate 1 mile per hour. Hit it again, another mile per hour. Like say you're doing 68 and you want to do 70, just hit it once, twice, and it should take you up to 70. Of course, if you need to turn it off, you just turn it off, and that's pretty much all there is to it to operate the cruise control. I use my cruise control frequently. If I were, say, living in northeastern New Jersey, I would probably never use my cruise control. I know a lot of people that live there, they've never used the cruise control. I know a lot of people even around here that have never used the cruise control. They either never had a car with one, like my Chevy Track doesn't have one, and or they just never driven in a situation where it'd be comfortable to use it. You want to use it, it's best to use it on the open highway, where you can just, on a long trip, you want to relax your right leg, your gas pedal foot, especially if you have sciatic problems. Just set your cruise and kick back, especially under light traffic. Heavy traffic, you don't want to use it. Slippery conditions, you don't want to use it. One thing I find it really good for, especially here in Pennsylvania, say you're going across Interstate 80 in Pennsylvania, there's several up and down grades that are as long as 5 miles long. And if you ever been up and down long grades like that, one common problem on the interstate is people always slow down because they don't maintain their speed. Set your cruise control, and the cruise control will maintain the speed for you. Instead of you slowing down everybody behind you, use the cruise control. If traffic's real light, you don't have to worry about the person in front of you slowing down. Just use the cruise control. You'll maintain that speed going up that hill. That's where it comes in real handy. Oh, let me see. I guess I'll end the video. I'm not going to go into replacing this check valve. It's pretty simple. Inspect your vacuum lines when you do it. There's some hard plastic lines, like the one that goes to the dash under and goes to your vents. Those, after 35 years, they'll break real easy. So you got to be real careful with them or plan on replacing them. Same with the vacuum line that goes to the plenum. That's hard plastic, so you might want to plan on replacing that. Any of your other vacuum lines, if they're still the original, they're 35 years old, you might want to just go ahead and replace them. Yeah, it's more than likely, if your vacuum lines are 35 years old, when you go to remove them, your hands are going to turn black because the rubber is deteriorating on the outside from UV rays and heat, and it'll just, it kind of like turns to a powder and ends up rubbing up onto your fingers. But that's it for this video. I'm sorry I don't have more. After I install it, of course, I'll take it for a test ride and check it. Ooh, excuse me. That's it for this video. Everybody have a great day. I hope this was helpful, and God bless.